Hello and welcome to Songkla Rajapat University's MOOC course on English for Communication 1. Today we're going to talk about routine. So this is Unit 7. And the things we're going to cover in this unit, we'll take a look at normal language, talking about your routine. I normally wake up. How long have you? What time do you wake up, get up? We'll take a look at some grammar points using past simple. What do we use it for? Its structure with affirmative, negative, and questions. And we'll take a look at some vocabulary, how we say numbers, how we use how long, how many, when, what time, and some prepositions of time. So let's get started with our first part, the language in use. These are the real-world examples of speaking about your routine. So when we talk about our routine, we normally use the present simple tense. And we've seen that in a couple of the earlier units. Remember, it's important to use the right verb. Use verb 1. We often use frequency words when we talk about our routine. I always, I normally, I usually, things like that. Quite often we'll split up the day or the week into different chunks. So we use phrases like in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, or at night. Generally, if you're wanting to practice this, start simple and build up. We can then join our ideas together, take simple sentences and connect them. And we can link things together with some sequencing words. First, then, after that, and so on. Here's an example of someone talking about a normal day. My alarm goes off at 5:30 every morning. I get up, take a shower and get dressed. Then go downstairs to let my dogs out while I prepare their breakfast. On weekdays, I normally leave the house for work between 7 and 7:30. It's not far, so I'm always in before 8 a.m. When I get in, I usually check my email in case there's anything urgent I need to do. Then at around 9 o'clock, I have a coffee and breakfast before we get busy. On most days, lunch is just a sandwich at my desk. Around noon, then I carry on working until 4:30. I rarely go straight home. Twice a week I go to the gym, and most other days I stop at the market to do some shopping. When I get home, I take my dogs out again before eating dinner. At night, I relax and watch a little TV before I have a shower again and finally go to bed at about 10 p.m. So here we can see lots of examples of different ways of phrasing things. I'm just going to highlight a few of the things here. You notice I've used the time in a number of situations. My alarm goes off at 5:30. At means the exact time, a specific time that something happens. I normally leave for work between 7 and 7:30. So sometime after 7, but before 7:30. It gives me a little window. It's not always exactly at 7. I'm always in before 8 a.m. So it doesn't take very long to get to work, and I'll arrive sometime before 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Notice I just said 9 o'clock rather than 9 a.m. So you can mix and match those. And putting around suggests that it's not exactly 9 o'clock, but somewhere close to it. 8:50, 9:10, somewhere around. I work until 4:30. I don't bother with PM or anything here because it's obvious it's in the afternoon. and 10 p.m. bedtime, 10 o'clock at night. So we've got different ways to say things. We can add AM, PM, o'clock, or just leave it off. Some of the frequency words we've used. My alarm goes off every morning. On weekdays, I normally, so that's the same as usually, most of the time, but not every day, not always. I'm always in before 8. So even if I don't leave between 7 and 7:30, I'll still be in before 8. I usually check my email. That's like normally, most of the time, not every single day. On most days. It's another way of saying normally, usually, most of the time. I rarely. This is a frequency where not very often. So I do not go home. I rarely go straight home. It does happen. Not never, but sometimes. So I go twice a week. A precise frequency. I sometimes go to the gym, but it can be more accurate than that. Each week I'll go to the gym 2 times. And most other days. So not every other day, just most. So each of these gives you a chance to show how often you do something. Some of the verbs that I've used, we'll take a look at when we talk about a routine. So I get up. The action. I take a shower. I get dressed. I let my dogs out. I prepare their breakfast. All of these are examples of the verb 1 or the infinitive. So usually when we talk about a routine, we use the infinitive. And you can gradually build up common ways we say things. We'll look at some of that a little more in a moment or two. Let me just switch back to the presenter. So we're going to take a look at talking about some of the routine when we ask people about what they normally do. What do you usually do at the weekend? So routine's not only for our work life, but we often have habits or things we do most of the time. The weekends are always family time. On Saturdays, we all go out and do something active, like go hill walking or cycling. On Sundays, I cook a roast and we watch old movies and play board games. That sounds nice. I normally have to work at the weekends, but I'm free this weekend and don't know what to do with myself. You should come and join us for lunch. I do a mean Yorkshire pudding. We can team up and beat the kids into bankruptcy at Monopoly. Okay, you're on. So the question, what do you usually do? We can say, what do you normally do? What do you do most weekends? Things like that. The same basic language applies. We're using frequencies that are always family time. Here, we're still using the verbs I cook, go hill walking or cycling. There's a few phrases in here that you may not be familiar with, so I'm just going to mention a couple of these things. I'll highlight them as I go. Playing board games. Board games are the old games you play on a tabletop, on a board, like Monopoly. where you go and buy property if you haven't come across it. Bankruptcy is when you lose all your money at Monopoly, which is why he said that. On Sundays, I cook a roast. A roast dinner is a traditional Sunday meal in the UK. So you would cook roast beef as by cooking beef, pork, something in the oven, and we roast it. And a traditional accompaniment is a Yorkshire pudding. So I do a mean Yorkshire pudding is talking about his roast dinner. The person asking the question about what do you do? I normally, so his routine is working. I normally work. So he's got an unusual weekend. I'm free this weekend. I'm not working. And he uses this phrase, I don't know what to do with myself. He's really just saying, I don't have any plans. I never have free time, so I don't know what to do. I'm just going to hang around. Hence the invite. His friend invites him, you should come and join us for lunch. Meaning on Sundays I cook a roast, a Sunday lunch. Let's take a look at the next example. These are a few of the phrases that we've seen already, and you can experiment when you talk about your routine. The frequency, there's so many you can choose from. Once a week, once a month, once a year, twice a day, twice a week, 10 times a week, and any number you want to throw in there. We can also say every day. I shower twice every day. I always shower in the morning. Every week, every month. These are set, fixed frequencies. We can also use more open frequencies like usually, normally. These aren't set an exact amount. Frequently, often. These are all things we do a lot. Or less often, sometimes, rarely. And we can use words like most and some to show it's not always. Most days I go swimming in the morning. Some evenings I go to bed early. We can also mix up the verbs that we use when we talk about things. When we talk about eating in our routine, I could say I have lunch, or I could say I eat lunch, or I take lunch, meaning the break. So have, eat, or take could be used there. When I talk about my dinner, I cook my dinner, I make my dinner, I prepare my dinner. 3 different ways to say the same thing before we get to eating. So don't be shy about using different verbs to make your English more varied. We can also link things together depending on something, like depending on the weather. I A or I B. That could be something like, depending on the weather, I go to the beach or I stay home and have a day on the computer. I usually go swimming, but occasionally I play badminton. So we can use phrases to mean more than one choice. Our routine is not always 100% fixed. Just like sometimes I go to the gym, sometimes I go shopping. Those are a few phrases and words hopefully you'd find useful when you talk about your routine, and something to start using and build on. Thank you very much. I hope you find that useful. I'll see you next video.